The Dow was down 62 points to finish at 39,069. The Nasdaq lost 20 points to 15,976. The S&P 500 dropped 19 points to 50. New York oil rose $1.09 to $77.58 per barrel. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds roll in this evening. Our low dips to 49. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of some early showers. We will stay mild with a high of 73. More rain possible with cloudy skies on Wednesday, while clearing and cooler on Thursday. High temperatures going back into the upper 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Answering the call. Running in when everything you feel says run out. Pushing yourself beyond your known limits to help. Living to tell the story. Visit scvolunteerfire.org.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network, and happy Monday to you. Oh, I know once a year you're insanely jealous of the Corn. Only once. Really, only one time a year are you insanely jealous of the Corn. It's on a Monday. It's in February, and it's the Monday in February of the RBC Heritage Sponsor Media Golf Outing at beautiful Harbor Town here at Sea Pines at Hilton Head Island. You are very jealous of what I did today. Get to play one of the great golf courses in the world. Not only get to play it, but they changed the format. They changed the whole deal. And we got to play our own ball in a foursome and had 4 caddies and had food everywhere. And it was great. And the course is, of course, fantastic. The course is, you know, the grass will be different by the time the Heritage rolls around the week after the Masters. The grass will be different, of course. But the course is, except for the pin placements and the tees and all that, we didn't play from where the pros play. Don't get me wrong. We were playing well up. But the course layout is ready for the pros. And it's in great shape, of course, absolutely great shape. I'm always leave here guilty about the damage I do to Mother Earth in 18 holes around this place. But it is God's gift to South Carolina, my goodness. Or somebody's gift. Maybe it was the Arabs who we bought it from, or they gave it to us, or however we came away with it. Glad to have it because it's Hilton Head and Sea Pines and Harbor Town, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And they had some things set up for us today. For example, on one of the holes, they had 3 golfers from nearby Hilton Head Prep who were all elite junior golfers. One of the kids, a boy, is going to go play at Maryland. Another of the kids, a young lady, is going to go play at Notre Dame. And then a third, who's a very good player, is still young. And so had one hole where we kind of competed with their best drives, et cetera. Then we had number 17, the par 3, you know, the famous number 17 that takes you, faces into Calabogie Sound. Over water, number 17, par 3. And Wesley Bryan, a former champion, was set up there to hit balls against us and see if, you know, we could hit it closer to the pin than he would. Of course, we could not. And then on 18, they had a setup on the course 182 yards from the hole where they had the moment last year. Remember, they had a playoff last year, and Matt Fitzpatrick, right, was the winner. and he hit a shot on the third playoff hole, I think it was, back into 18. It was an incredible shot from 182 yards, and so they had some artificial turf set there so that we could all hit from there to see if we could come to within, what was it, I think it was like 22 inches, some incredible shot. And, of course, nobody could match that. So, anyway, we had a great day here, only to not quite be matched. Well, maybe it was matched. It's all in the beholder, in the eyes of the beholder. Chris Bergen was on the golf links today in Myrtle Beach because Myrtle Beach is going to be hosting a PGA event the same weekend as they're playing in Charlotte. That Charlotte event is a select event like the one here. And so as a result, they have another event going on at the same time for those golfers who can't get into that one. And Myrtle Beach is going to host that one, and you were there for that. And you too, sir, are a lucky dog today.
I am, absolutely. And I'm probably the only person in the state of South Carolina within the sound of our voices that isn't totally just envy and, jealous and ridden with envy at what you just described, though that did sound really cool. The opportunities you guys had down at Harbortown, that's always fun. But I got a chance to see for the first time ever, as long as I've lived in South Carolina, I've never been at the Dunes Golf and Beach Club in Myrtle Beach. And had a chance to run over there, had the press conference about the upcoming PGA Tour event, the Myrtle Beach Classic, which will be held over Mother's Day weekend. So go ahead and make your plans. Don't know how you can do this because Darlington will be running that weekend as well. There'll be baseball. We'll have a lot of stuff going on here in South Carolina that weekend. But the course was in really good shape. It's not ready, I don't think, for the PGA Tour pros to get here quite yet. They don't need it to. They need it to be ready in a couple of months, and it will certainly be so. One thing that I was struck today, Phil, with regards to the press conference that they had for the event, also Jonathan Byrd was there, former Tiger, five-time winner on the PGA Tour. He'll be there. Was talking about how impressed he was with the golf course. It was the first time he'd ever seen it. But one thing that struck me, the tournament director, Darren Nelson, was talking about the volunteers, not the ticket sales, not the suites, the whole 9 yards. He said they had to actually shut down the website about the day it went live. They were expecting about 1,500 people or so that want to volunteer. They had over 4,000. Basically crashed the site. They had to stop taking. They had to stop taking volunteers. So there's a lot of interest in this event. And we asked Jonathan Byrd about the fact that are you surprised that Harbortown's had their PGA Tour event for years. Kiowa has done a fabulous job hosting majors and, of course, the Ryder Cup back in the early 90s, but there's been nothing up the Grand Strand. And we like to say here in South Carolina for sure that Myrtle Beach is the golf capital of the world. And he said, I was kind of surprised that this will be the first PGA Tour event to ever come to the upper part of the Grand Strand at Myrtle Beach. But I think they're going to do a fabulous job. The press conference was very well done. Had a good time playing golf today. Actually teamed up with a pair of members from the board. And one of the guys is a 4 handicap.
Ooh.
So it was fun watching him play. His back's got to be sore, though, because he carried the other 3 in our foursome around. We played the typical captain's choice, but he was Collins is his name, and just can smash the golf ball and hits it wherever he wants. He can shape it left and right. I mean, you can tell he plays a good bit. Anybody around, for those of you who aren't familiar, the lower your number, much like golf, the lower your handicap, the better off you are. Tour pros are, I guess they actually have a plus handicap. That's how good they are. But if you can get it around 0, that means basically you shoot par about every time you go out. He's at a +4. So this is a guy who goes out and plays at the Dunes or anywhere else and shoots probably 75, 76 on a bad day. I'd love to shoot that on a really, really good day.
I shot 75. I mean,
Yeah, but then that means you go to the backside, right?
I crossed the 75 mark. But you know what? Today, doesn't matter how well you played, how poor you played, you just have a great time. We had 2 members of the staff here at Harbortown, gentlemen who work here, and one who used to live in South Africa, and they could hit the ball a ton. They could hit the ball an absolute ton. So it was just fun. I enjoyed just playing my own ball, which was really cool. And our 4 caddy was a great guy. I've had him before. His name is Griff Rudolph. He's the son of former PGA star Mason Rudolph. Now, he's an older gentleman now. He's like in his 60s. But he played golf at the University of Alabama. And Bear Bryant was the AD when he signed with Alabama. And he played a little bit on the PGA Tour as well. So Learned a lot from him because, these four caddies, they know every angle to this golf course. They know every break in the green. And the greens, of course, can be misleading. What you think might be an uphill putt or a downhill putt could be the opposite. What you think is going to go left, he'll tell you, no, it's going to go right, or vice versa. So you learn a lot. He's a great guy, and enjoyed having him with us. Okay, enough about our own selfish day, because that's what we've been. We've been selfish today. What a weekend. Let's touch on everything here, Bergie, real quick, and then we'll get the phone calls. 888-898-2525. Still Steve Wilmot coming up at 7:05. Will be here with us to talk more about his big event coming up. And, of course, Jim Toman, 7:35, just a bit outside. It is the big week. They got games tomorrow, South Carolina and Clemson do, but then they turn their attention to each other. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Columbia, Clemson. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. Chance of rain, of course, every weekend, and that's going to be the case again this coming weekend. More on that coming up. Both teams went 2-1 over the weekend. Each took a lopsided loss. This happens in baseball. Each took a lopsided loss, then came back to win. And we'll go over the rankings that came out today in just a moment. Of course, basketball over the weekend. Impressive performances, impressive wins by Clemson at home over Florida State, and South Carolina on the road at Ole Miss. Both teams kind of got back to what they do well, or should do well. Of course, Clemson shot the ball well. Girard shot the ball well. And they won without a big performance at all from P.J. Hall, as he was held to just 7 points. He was in foul trouble, eventually fouled out. And but they found some other people. R.J. Godfrey was big for them. And the Tigers picked up another big win for them in the ACC. And their number in the net remains very healthy at this point. And South Carolina went down to Ole Miss and played great defense and did not allow Ole Miss really to have any sort of hold on that game at home whatsoever, and got several solid performances from some guys who stepped up and had big games for them, and they were playing again without Miles Stute, who's now dealing with an injury he suffered in practice, a knee thing, probably not going to play Wednesday night at Texas A&M. But that's a very nice road win. The Gamecocks have had a ton of success on the road this season, and that's an important thing to note when it comes down to the seeding for the NCAA tournament. And, of course, their net ranking still not as good as Clemson's. They're 48 this week, and Clemson is like 28, I believe, or 23. We'll look that up in just a second. But, both are in good shape from that standpoint. The experts have them both firmly in the tournament with no sweat going on right now for either one. So, two really good wins. And the Tigers have a big one at home tomorrow night against Pittsburgh. That's huge. Those two teams are tied in the ACC standings right now, so obviously that's big. And the Gamecocks will go on the road Wednesday. Boy, if they beat Texas A&M, Chris, they come home to play Florida on Saturday in what will be a mammoth game for them.
That'll be one of the biggest games in Columbia for the men in quite some time, and that'll give them an opportunity. If they're able to beat A&M, they go to 11-4 in the league. And you figure Florida, I think they play Missouri as their tune-up for the Gamecocks. I can't see Florida as well as they are playing right now losing. So you've got a team that would be 11-4, assuming that they win, and Florida would be 10-5 coming in. If you could find a way to win that Florida game, get 2 games up on the Gators, plus have the tiebreaker over them, you're looking at a South Carolina team, Phil, that was picked to finish dead last in the conference, that may finish in the top 4 and get the double bye all the way to Friday at the SEC tournament. And they went back. I thought you hit on a really, really good point. Then I want to get back to I just don't get the SEC in a moment, but I thought you brought up a great point about the Gamecocks getting back to doing what they do. And when they start playing defense as well as they did against Ole Miss, just clearly taking them out of the ballgame, it translates on the other side of the floor too. 17 assists on 26 made field goals. Unselfish basketball teams normally pass the ball well and play great defense. And that's what USC did on Saturday. And to get nearly 5 guys in double figures, if Talon Cooper got another point, if he had made his free throw, he would have finished with 10 points, and you would have had 5 guys without Miles Stute scoring in double figures. They played like that. That's the blueprint for the Gamecocks the rest of the year. Distribute the basketball, get as many people as you can involved and go play defense on the other end like they did, they're going to be in the mix going down the stretch and certainly come conference tournament time to make some noise at the SEC tournament. Now, speaking of the SEC, how in the world is Alan Flanagan not suspended for a game after the just vicious, cheap, dirty shot he took on Zachary Davis with the elbow? How is that different what he did than what the Alabama kid did the other night against Florida, where he got a suspension for it? I don't understand the discrepancy in the two. Let's have some consistency here with the SEC. It was a flagrant 2 foul, and he was ejected from the ball game. That doesn't rise to the level of also suspending him for another game. I mean, I'm not saying sit him down for the rest of the year, but that was a cheap, dirty play by a guy who obviously had checked out. His team, he was frustrated. His team was getting beat, and he wasn't going to win the game, so he figures, well, shoot, I'll just take a cheap shot at one of the other players. And I thought Zach Davis handled it really well, not trying to retaliate. And some of the players talked about it afterwards and said, we talked to him and made sure that he understood, hey, we're winning the ball game. Let's just go take it out on them on the scoreboard. But I just don't understand the SEC side of the coin, that they'll suspend one player for a game or two, but not Alan Flanagan for basically doing the exact same thing.
Couldn't agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. Now, let me bring up my point of contention for this weekend. I was so ticked off by what I read. I don't normally go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and express opinions during the weekend, because, hey, man, you got to take your minds off things from time to time, right? You can't be working your thoughts and your opinions 24/7. But I was so ticked off by what I read on CBSSports.com. And you tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong. And I'll be more than happy to listen to why I'm wrong. So you have the incident at the end of the Wake Forest-Duke game, right? And you saw Filipowski stuck out in the middle of hundreds, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of Wake Forest students and fans storming the court, okay? A very dangerous situation, to say the least, a very dangerous situation for that young man. And, of course, he ends up having contact with at least one person, and he ends up being injured as he's trying to get off the court. So, I mean, to me, it's black and white, cut and dry. He's an injured party here who should have been protected. But I guess, in this era of sports coverage and media, the attempt to draw looks and the attempt to draw clicks is just, it overwhelms one's common sense. A guy named Kyle Boone, who writes for CBSSports.com, he did an analysis of the video. Now, my first thought is, why is any analysis necessary here? What analysis is there to be analyzed? The poor guy got caught up in a rash and rush of hundreds of students storming the court and was in a very dangerous situation. So, anyway, the headline is Kyle Filipowski injury, breaking down the film on Duke's star run-in with court-storming Wake Forest fans. He tries to make an argument here, at least raise the question, that maybe Filipowski was to blame for the contact. Can you believe that? Can you absolutely believe that somebody with the position of writing for CBSSports.com would throw different angles of the video up there? And you know what? The fact that Filipowski might have thrown his arms out at somebody to protect himself does in no way mean he was trying to create a contact situation and knock somebody down. It is the most simply the most ridiculous attempt at creating an opinion on something that does not need to be created and should not exist. I just couldn't believe it. Now, I know you've looked at the film, if you've seen it, maybe you saw it live. Or do you see any way and at one point here, he was trying to he was questioning whether or not some of the responsibility, some of the blame should be on Filipowski.
Only thing I'm disappointed that Kyle Filipowski did was not slug one of the Wake Forest students. That's exactly what he should have done. I'm big on stand your ground laws in our state. Somebody invades your home, you should be able to protect yourself and defend yourself. That's the only thing he could possibly be doing. And I don't want to relitigate, you all know how I feel about court storming. I think it's the most ridiculous thing that happens in college basketball, and it should have been stopped a long time ago. And I wish somebody with some common sense would actually stand on the radio and, oh, wait a minute, I've done that, and talk about why it needs to end before something like this happens. I could see it coming. You could see it was going to happen, and maybe there's some good that comes from this. The sad part is John Shire said earlier today that they're not sure if Filipowski is going to be able to practice right now. They don't know exactly the situation that is going on. But you've got a situation where the best player on easily the most polarizing basketball program, everybody has an opinion on Duke. Whether you love them, whether you hate them, whatever the case may be, you have an opinion on them. Maybe this will finally get this nonsense stopped. And stop with the fines. The fines aren't going to work. We've been fining schools to death the last several years. It doesn't work. The only thing that does work is you hit them where it matters. You either take – I've seen some people talk about ding them in the net rankings. I'm okay with that. I'm still an advocate of taking the win away from the home team.
Ooh.
But if you want to ding them in the net rankings, I can see that. If you had told Steve Forbes afterwards, hey, by the way, Coach, since you couldn't control your fans, and on top of that, one of the opposing players got hurt, you guys are going to lose 20 points, 20 spots in the net rankings. For a team that was on the bubble going into that game, you don't think they'd get that situation corrected? You'd only have to do it once or twice nationally, and it would stop. But again, I don't see why this is a continuing problem, but maybe now that it's happened to Duke and one of their key players may be out for a game, hope not. I hope he's not seriously hurt. But maybe that's the positive of this. This nonsense will actually come to an end.
Clemson better rethink its situation with the fans meeting at the Paw after football games as well. I mean, the Clemson fans, they're getting more and more anxious to rush the field as soon as the game is over. They don't give the visiting team any time to get off the field, even though they're told to wait, I think, like 60 seconds or so before they come onto the field. They don't wait at all. And they come to the Paw. Well, the opposing team, of course, especially if they've taken a beating by Clemson and they're a rival, that's just a situation where something's going to break out sooner or later and is waiting to happen. And you got to believe if the ACC takes action, on this, it's going to impact Clemson's fans going to the Paw, their traditional meeting. They're not going to do it to basketball and not do it for football.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right, because that will happen, and their chances of somebody getting hurt probably greater in basketball just because of the smaller condensed area, but there's certainly less fans than in football. But, yeah, somebody's going to get hurt in football if they continue to allow this to occur, and you got to stop it. I mean, you just have to stop it, and I guess it's much like NASCAR, and, God, it's so sad that they had to have an accident kill one of the superstars of the sport in Dale Earnhardt before they finally figured out a way to get softball technology in there. Yep. Let's hope the NCAA and the powers that be don't wait until a serious incident occurs before they react. Don't be retroactive. Let's be proactive. This should be enough to stop this nonsense from happening ever again. And they need to stop it now before it gets worse.
Speaking of Clemson, Tigers, begin spring practice tomorrow. And Dabo Swinney is going to visit with make that Wednesday. I'm sorry, let me get my days right. Wednesday, the 28th, Dabo Swinney is going to meet with the media Wednesday afternoon before going out to practice. So one player who is coming back, who had not been with the program because of a legal issue, according to Chapo Fowler of the state newspaper, who had this story earlier, 3 weeks after being arrested on a charge of unlawfully having a gun on school property, DeMonte Capehart is back with the team. A team spokesperson told the state that Capehart, a redshirt senior defensive tackle, rejoined the program late last week and will be available for the start of spring practice Wednesday after going through PTI surrounding his February 6 arrest on campus on a weapons charge and a traffic charge. Larry Williams of Tiger Illustrated actually reported not long after this story came out that from his sources, all of this was going to be resolved in a matter of time and it was not going to be a problem whatsoever. My question to you, Mr. Bergen, South Carolina had a similar situation on campus last year with 3 players. Those 3 players were dismissed from school, kicked off the team, and they're not coming back. Mm-hmm. What's the difference? Why does Clemson handle a weapon situation differently than South Carolina did. And I know that people will say, well, different circumstances, different this, different that. There is one common denominator, a gun on campus, which nobody can deny. So what's the difference? Why does Clemson handle their thing this way, and why does South Carolina handle their thing that way? I'll tell you why. One really, 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 really wants to win football national championships, period.
So it's basically just, in your mind, it's basically Clemson's love of their football program and the success, and they don't want to do anything from a university standpoint to harm that possibility, that success.
The story speaks for itself.
Yeah.
The
only thing I could,
the two stories speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I could add to it, and you're right, and I wish they would have said where exactly, because I don't think they did, where DeMonte Capehart had the gun. Was it in his car that happened to be parked on campus?
It was in the trunk. No, it was in the trunk, and he was pulled over. Remember, he was pulled over.
Right, that's right.
And they found it in his trunk on campus.
So the only thing I can see is a difference, and it probably shouldn't matter. I'm guessing most universities want to take a zero-tolerance policy with regards to weapons on campus, especially in this day and age in which we live. But my guess is the difference is car in a locked trunk versus in a dorm room.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto
We'll pick it
Citizens
up after
Federal
the break.
Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds roll in this evening. Our low dips to 49. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of some early showers. We will stay mild with a high of 73. More rain possible with cloudy skies on Wednesday, while clearing and cooler on Thursday. High temperatures going back into the upper 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a U.S.-owned cruise ship with more than 3,000 passengers and crew on board was finally allowed to dock in the Indian Ocean island of Mauritius on Monday after having been quarantined offshore over fears of an outbreak of cholera. The Mauritius government cleared the Norwegian Dawn, which is owned and run by the Miami-based Norwegian Cruise Line Company, to dock in the capital Port Louis, after health officials now no trace of cholera and tests conducted on the water on the ship. Southern California Edison will pay $80 million to settle claims on behalf of the U.S. Forest Service connected to a massive wildfire that destroyed more than 1,000 homes and other structures in 2017. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 62 points, the Nasdaq dropped 20, the S&P lower by 19. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money, they unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured, by the NCUA.
Hey, why not try something extreme and exciting this year, like Extreme Pogo? Woohoo! Going for the backflip! Or maybe something really adventuresome, like wingsuit flying. Tree! Or maybe just try eating extremely good pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Hand-tossed, spring-order dough, fresh ingredients, all baked on the stone. Now that's exciting and extremely delicious. The Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
When you've got the gem of the Midlands, Lake Murray, at your disposal, who can blame you for wanting to hit that water now? Marine 360 has been your local home for the nicest crest and sea hunt boats since 2007. Brandon, Scott, and their team, well, they offer expertise, incredible customer service, and a tremendous selection of new and pre-owned boats. Crest is the industry standard. They've been building boats since 1956, the oldest and one of the most respected pontoon builders anywhere. Sea Hunt is built right here in Columbia, the #1 selling center console in its class for 19 straight years. Look, Marine 360 is on the lake. It's a great place when you need your boat serviced. They're authorized service experts for Yamaha, Mercury, and Suzuki. I know Brandon and Scott. These are good guys. They're local, and they'll be there from start to finish. They can get you into the best boat that fits your dreams and your budget. Take a look online, marine360sc.com, or better yet, give them a call, 749-2360. Go visit the showroom, see their awesome selection, hit the water for a demonstration. If you belong on the water, you belong in a Marine 360 boat.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. We're here at Harbor Town after a great day on the links for the media day for the RBC Heritage. Steve Wilmot will be here a little after 7 o'clock to talk more about today and about the big event coming up in April. Of course, it's always the week after the Masters. Phone number is 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. We'll get to your phone calls in just a moment. Something else I wanted to mention. Well, first of all, to folks who are watching us and communicating with us on our stream, thank you. We appreciate that. Big Man Sports asked me to not talk with food in my mouth while I'm on the air. Thank you. I was not doing that.
Corn.
I was eating while you were talking. Okay, I was eating while you were talking, and then I would swallow. So technically, I was not eating while I was on the air. And then Tim says, in talking about the Capehart situation, he says that's not it at all. Kid had never been in trouble. And that's true. I think he'd had a clean record. That's why he's able to get pretrial intervention. Mm-hmm. But the three at South Carolina had not been in trouble before either.
They just arrived on
knowledge.
Campus. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were – well, two of them were brand-new freshmen. I think
right.
Anthony Rose had been a redshirt freshman, I think. But none of them had any issues either. So I go back to what I'm saying, why does one handle it one way, the other handles it the other way? And you can draw your own conclusions. I'm just throwing the question out there. I kind of gave you my conclusion, but I'm kind of throwing the question out there about that. It seems kind of odd to me that these two situations are handled in two different ways when there are similarities to what happened here. So, okay, let's see. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to mention, and we'll get back to your phone calls or get to your phone calls. So, oh, yeah, my goodness. It was the big story over the weekend for South Carolina. Yeah. And that is they lose their wide receivers coach, James Coley, to Georgia. He was hired, I think it was on January the 12th. And he leaves to go to Georgia because Georgia's receivers coach was hired by an NFL team. So they had an opening there. At first I thought this was like a chain reaction to Sean Elliott leaving Georgia State, and then Dell McGee going from Georgia to Georgia State. But Dell McGee was the running backs coach, did not impact the receivers. And so Kirby Smart went out and obviously made James Coley some kind of a deal. He had to pay South Carolina money, but he made James Coley some kind of a deal that he thought was better than what he's got at South Carolina. And I'm just going to say this. I understand movement, okay, I get it. But at what point does honor trump movement to try to maybe make a few more dollars or put yourself in a position to win a ring? Where is honor when you take a job and tell the head coach, especially a head coach that threw you a lifeline, right? because James Coley was without a job. Shane Beamer threw him a lifeline, hired him, made him receivers coach. It cost him a member of his staff because he moved Justin Stepp to tight end. Justin didn't really care to be the tight ends coach, and he takes a job at Illinois. And I'm like, come on, man. I mean, you just got to South Carolina. They're making all these plans, and you're recruiting for South Carolina. My point is, when are coaches going to look in the mirror at themselves and say, you know what, I'm going to honor at least my first year from here for a guy that gave me a chance to get back into coaching? Where is that? Or am I, am I just whistling, am I just whistling up in the air, Yeah.
Well, and there is no honor among thieves anymore. It's fairly obvious, and I don't want to ever hear another coach. And I'm going to start jumping on Pat Daniels' side of the coin. If players want to go, go. If you want to move, I don't have a problem at all anymore with players going. Heck, I'm ready for the first player to go after the first week of practice. First game. Well, I didn't play enough, so I'm gone. This is ridiculous on James Coley's side of the coin. First off, as you pointed out correctly, Shane Beamer throws him a lifeline, gives him a job, and then all of a sudden you haven't even coached a play at your position during spring ball, and you're already gone again. And Beamer said this happened to him a couple of times now, Phil. I mean, is it a situation where he's not vetting these guys well enough? Do they need to start having higher buyouts earlier in the contract? Like $2 million buyout to get this assistant after, 50 days on the job. And then it slowly goes down as he coaches, I don't know, a practice. This is a slimy move on James Coley's part. Whether it's Georgia or anywhere else, you made a commitment to USC, and you didn't honor any of it. So Shane Beamer's there's something wrong, something amiss when he's judging these guys for assistant coaches, because this is happening too many times to that program.
Yeah.
And especially with Georgia on the receiving end.
Yep. I mean, practically half of Georgia's staff. Now, I know that McClendon just left. He was a former Gamecock assistant, but you got T-Rob is there. Of course, Muschamp is there. Now, Coley is there. Technically, he was on South Carolina staff. Mike Bobo is there. He was on South Carolina staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I had this thought about who could be a replacement. How about this idea? I don't know if this has any legs or not. I just threw it out there over the weekend. Gaffney native Quinshaw Davis has been the receivers coach at Georgia State. And, of course, Sean Elliott is now at USC. And you know how coaches talk to one another.
Sure.
That's how that's how Beamer hired his running backs coach at the recommendation of Coley, because they had coached together at Texas A&M. So now you got Quinshaw Davis, who's a South Carolinian. He's young. According to his bio, he's been regarded as one of the up-and-coming young assistant football coaches in college. He also coached at USF. He played at North Carolina. He left there as the all-time leader in catches and touchdown catches at North Carolina. I remember him at Gaffney. He was quite the player.
Yes.
And South Carolina and Clemson kind of got involved with him maybe a little bit later after North Carolina had made some strong inroads, and he ends up going to North Carolina and having a great career. Just threw that out there as an idea. He could be, obviously, he's probably looking at totally different people, but it would make a little bit of sense to me that a guy like that would have a chance to come to South Carolina. Okay, let's go to some phone calls. Chris, how about that?
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Let's go to Hank in Columbia. Hank, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Corn. Before you throw out Quinshaw Davis, I would say look at Perry Parks at Coastal, or even Jason Barnes. Jason Barnes is tied to the program, and he's worked his way up into college, being up there at UNC Charlotte with no hookups or my friend of a friend or my uncle. And Perry Parks has worked at Coastal and worked at Charlotte, and Charlotte put a very good receiver out that he cultivated the last couple of years, and then the guy from Coastal Carolina just went and got. And so, and he coached at Ridgeview, then the Columbia guy worked out. Those are two guys before Quinshaw Davis is nice, but I think those two guys come in just as good as he.
Somebody wrote on our, I think it was on our Twitter or our X or whatever, just go back and rehire Justin Stepp. He's still living in Columbia. Just go back and say, hey, man, I was really kidding about moving you to tight end. We really want you to stay as wide receivers coach. I mean, just go do that.
And Corn, one thing I say, it was kind of like a chain reaction because the guy that when the running backs coach left Georgia, the guy that they were targeting for the receivers coach at Georgia when McClendon left was from Georgia Tech. They hired him, but then moved him to running backs coach so that they could hire Coley as a receivers coach.
Who'd they hire as receivers coach?
Georgia hiring Coley from us for the receivers coach.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah.
But they targeted this was after their running backs coach left.
Right.
They targeted the Georgia Tech receivers coach. And so they hired both of them, and then they moved the guy they hired from Georgia Tech for receiver coach. They just moved him to running back.
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, you're right. They did just hire a guy from Georgia Tech. Yeah.
So you did have the chain reaction.
Yeah.
But Corn, I call you to say, I remember we had this conversation some weeks ago, and you talked about the girls' team, and you talked about shooting and all that, and like in golf. I listened to you talk about golf when you first started, and most people will tell you if you shoot 96 in 12 or 13 matches, and then you shoot one day you go out there and you shoot a 72, your handicap value ain't going to be based off that 72. It's going to be based off the 96, right?
Correct.
Okay. So a couple of days ago you were talking, and I think you had gone to a game, and it had been a game or two where the girls didn't shoot a great percentage, but it hadn't been their year. It hadn't been the average of the year. And then the last two or three games, they got back to shooting the way they've shot all year. And, last night they shot 65% field goal percentage, but they shot 66% from the three.
Mm-hmm.
And you had like 5 or 6, you had 4, I think it was 5 different girls that shot three-pointers last night. And they shot 90% from the line. And when I went in and you look at the stats, Carolina's got 3, they have 4 girls on their team that are shooting over 40% from 3. So I told you, I said, yeah, Pow Pow's the best shooter in the country. Yeah, she's back up there. I said, but because South Carolina only takes about 12 threes a game because they don't need to with all that talent they got low as we see, I said they have a number of girls that if they shot more, if they hoisted up a whole bunch more threes to qualify, they have 3 girls that would be in the top 15 in the country. And Carolina, once again, as a girls' team, is the best three-point shooting team in the country. So you don't have to concern. You can concern yourself with it if they were to go back in their little 2-game slump.
I'm not one.
But I don't think it's going to be that great a deal.
Concerned about it. All right. Thank you, Hank. Appreciate it. I'm not one that's concerned. I'll listen to him laugh. Thank you. Hank always laughs when he thinks he's got you, and he wants to stick that knife in. You listen to him. Okay, listen. I want you to call me when they lose in the tournament because they're not making outside shots, okay? That's when I want you to call me and laugh then. No, thank you very much, Hank. I'm not saying – I've been to a lot of their games. Don't make it sound like I've only been to a couple. I've been to a lot of their games, okay? Now, I don't catch them until the second half, and usually it's mostly of course, even their bench is so good. Yeah, it's over. Even their bench people, they're so good that they're playing at a high level. But – I mean, yeah, they've had games where they've lit it up from outside. 10 of 25 at Mizzou, 9 of 27 at home against Mizzou, 11 of 29 at Bowling Green, 11 of 23 at Duke, 10 of 22 when they played Maryland. Yeah, they've had some really good three-point shooting games. They've also had some clunkers. 1 of 19 against Mississippi Valley, of all people. 3 of 17 against Morgan. 2 of 12 against East Carolina, 2 of 7 against Ole Miss, 2 of 17 at Tennessee. And they can make up for that kind of shooting, of course, with their great inside play and their rebounding and their second chance points. Plus the points they make off of their steals, which that's a ton that they create off their turnovers. I was just expressing the opinion last week that I think at times their three-point shooting does go cold, and you just wondered, like it happened against Caitlin Clark in the semifinals last year, as they move on down that line again here in a few weeks. They start getting into NCAA tournament play. They get through the first 2 games in Columbia. They go up to Albany. Maybe they face a Virginia Tech in the Sweet 16 or somebody who's pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They haven't faced a whole lot of decent teams. Once they got into SEC play, let's face it, there's not really anybody in the SEC who has been able to give them a challenge. Georgia did, believe it or not, for a little bit. And of course, down there at LSU, that was a close one, which you would expect. But otherwise, they've been practically unchallenged in the SEC this year. So I'm saying when they face a really good team that might, I don't know, put the pressure on the inside and force them to hit some outside shots, are they going to be able to do that? Hank seems to believe that they're not going to have any problems when it comes to a situation where they've got to match teams with their outside shooting.
They have only had, this is a remarkable stat, of all the different things they have put together over the last couple of years. This one amazes me. They've only had, and I think it speaks to the lack of depth in the SEC this year. Normally, the SEC heralds itself as the best women's basketball conference, top to bottom in the country. It's not close this year. And part of it is South Carolina is so much better than everybody else. It kind of skews the results. They've only had one game that was not decided by double figures in conference play. I mean, that's how dominant they have been. But you're right, Phil. I think the biggest change, and we talked about this last week, is Dawn Staley looked at her team's deficiencies last year and realized, I've got to have somebody that can shoot from the outside or we're not going to win the national championship. And that's what happened against Iowa last year. They could not make enough outside shots to keep up. Caitlin Clark was going to get hers, but they couldn't get enough inside to match what she was doing. And I think this team, though, is built differently. As Hank correctly pointed out, they can shoot the ball even on an off night for them this year. It's probably better than a good night for them was a season ago, because they just were not a very good three-point shooting team last year.
Yeah. All right, Hank, thank you. Take the knife out of my back. I'm fine. Appreciate it. Don't you love how Hank laughs, though, when he thinks
he does.
He's got you. Got you on
that
something.
Sinister laugh.
Yeah, he does.
Like
He likes to
evil
do
genius.
that to you. We'll come back with more of your phone calls here on Sports Talk, 888-898-2525. The number, busy Monday night. Back in a moment.
Hi, this is Billy Downer from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Are you looking for a safe place to shoot your rifle or handgun? Did you know that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources operates 4 manned ranges across the state in Pickens County, Spartanburg County, Richland County, and Charleston County? For more information on our public ranges, visit dnr.sc.gov/shooting.
Last year was a big year for Founders Federal Credit Union and our amazing members. A total of $30 million was given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Hi, yes, I'll have the club sandwich and house salad.
You got it, sweetie. I'll throw in a pair of designer sunglasses as well.
Just lunch, thanks.
How about a week at my boss's oceanfront villa?
What?
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Today's special, a trip to low Earth orbit in a private spaceship.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Well, Chris and I have had a wonderful day, separate locations along the low country of South Carolina. I'm over here at Harbor Town, Hilton Head, and Chris was over at Myrtle Beach at the Dunes Club, another wonderful, beautiful venue, which reminds me to remind you, coming up will be summer vacation, and you need to go ahead and prepare yourself for a great getaway for your summer vacation at the beach. So just call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate, 843-237-4246. That's 843-237-4246. Online at Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. Let Jimmy set you up anywhere around Paulie's or Myrtle Beach or Surfside or Georgetown area, all up and down the coast. They can find what you're looking for, and they can make it fit your budget. That phone number, again, is 843-237-4246. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We go to Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. Gamecock Larry, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. Hope you had a great weekend. You're feeling well.
Well, I'm telling you, man, the Gamecocks is almost, man, we had a good week. But let me tell old Coach Coley, or what do you call it?
Coach Coley.
Coach Coley, if you don't want to stay, go. The Gamecocks going to be okay anyway. Now, let me tell you, they've done Kirby Smart. They're doing the same thing that Georgia done when they got old Smart to go to Georgia. Because the contract was ready to be signed. They flipped him with Carolina. But Georgia fired that 10, 11 game winning, 11 game a year coach for the last 10 or 12 years, 11 game wins a year. Fired him. Put old Kirby Smart $2 million under the table. Signed him. Then they come out and said, well, we got him. He's getting less money than the Gamecocks give him. I think that's right. Anyway, you know what I mean. Georgia, that's okay. We don't want you. We don't want you. You can get all the rings you want, but I'm telling you, your day's coming. Your day is coming. Now, let me tell you about these Gamecocks. We're the only school in the NCAA that's got 4 major sports. Men's basketball, ladies basketball, ladies softball, men's baseball, only school in the NCAA. And them 4 sports that got teams in the top 20. Then we got the golf in the top 20. Then we got the tennis in the top 20. So they can't say too much about OA talent right now. But now just coming up next week, we're going to come out there, we're going to sweep. We're going to bring our brooms. We're going to sweep your Clemson Tide. We're going to sweep them, Phil, Mr.
I hear
Phil.
you.
We're going to sweep them.
I hear you.
We're going to sweep them.
I hear you.
Let me tell you something else. I've seen where one of these big motocross champions overseas killed himself doing a triple back jump. Doing a triple back jump on a motorcycle, he was crazy. Man, I don't understand that. They got 4 wheels, I ain't gonna ride it. But I just want to let you know, we having a better year. And the Gamecocks, come on down. And Foley, go. We don't need you.
All right.
See you later, Mr.
Thank
Phil.
you.
Love
Thank
all
you.
y'all. Love all y'all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Gamecock Larry. Appreciate that. What do you think about Gamecocks and Clemson baseball coming up this weekend? That's our new poll question of the week. And the poll question of the week is the annual base brawl. That's our term. But they don't call it that. I guess that would be not politically correct in this era to use the word brawl. We can say it. I kind of like it. Base brawl. Used to call it the base brawl for it all. But the base brawl series between Clemson and the Gamecocks to be played this weekend. What's your prediction on the outcome? I didn't get this up on the X until late this afternoon, so it's just generating votes, 107 votes in the last hour. And 54.2% have the Gamecocks winning 2 of 3. 23.4% have the Gamecocks sweeping. 20.6% have the Tigers winning 2 of 3. And 1.9% have the Tigers sweeping. I mean, based on what we've seen so far and what I would call the preseason games to this point, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two of them. I guess it depends on who's going to bring healthy arms to the mound on for those 3 games, both the starters and coming out of the bullpen.
I would agree. And, I mean, both teams have had their struggles early in the field, too, Phil. I mean, you're talking about 2 teams that we normally expect to field it pretty cleanly. The Gamecocks have committed 10 errors already this season, and Clemson's got 14 up on the board already this season. So I can't imagine either coach is all that impressed with his team's defense thus far this season, which is rare usually for both of these teams. But, yeah, I have no idea other than I think there will be a lot of runs scored with these 2 offenses going head-to-head this week. So that'll be fun. But I think you hit it on the head. It'll boil down to which can get quality pitching, as we didn't see from Clemson on Friday and didn't see from South Carolina on Saturday.
Yep. Okay, we're going to hit the break. Steve Wilmot from here at the RBC Heritage will join us when we come back, and a whole bunch more to come. Don't go away.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Supreme Court heard arguments today on how social media platforms moderate their content. The laws in question in Florida and Texas take aim at what they call bias against conservative viewpoints on the platforms. During oral arguments, tech industry lawyer Paul Clement defines the term content moderation for Justice Samuel Alito.
Content moderation to me is just editorial discretion. It's a way to take all of the content that is potentially posted on the site, exercise editorial discretion in order to make it less offensive to users and advertisers.
Is it anything more than a euphemism for censorship?
The justices seemed wary of a broad ruling, with Justice Amy Coney Barrett warning of landmines she and her colleagues need to avoid in resolving the 2 cases. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports prosecutors in Donald Trump's New York hush money criminal case asked a judge to impose a gag order against the former president.
Citing what they call Donald Trump's long history of making public and inflammatory remarks about people involved in his legal cases, the Manhattan DA's office has asked for a narrowly tailored gag order ahead of next month's trial. That order would bar Trump from making or directing others to make public statements about potential witnesses and jurors, as well as statements meant to interfere with or harass the court's staff, prosecution team, or their families. The request did not include District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Jury selection in the case is scheduled to begin March 25th. I'm Shelley Adler.
President Biden says he hopes a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that would pause hostilities and allow for remaining hostages to be released can take effect by early next week. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 62 points, the Nasdaq dropped 20. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
This is Dennis Prager, and now a truly exciting new benefit. My monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. For an hour each month, get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. I'll be answering your questions. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at PragerTopia.com. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to PragerTopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
The Palestinian government resigns in a step toward a post-Gaza war overhaul. The latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
Taking a significant step in preparation for an end to the Israel-Hamas war, Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh submitted his government's resignation to President Mahmoud Abbas. The outgoing body, which has been largely dysfunctional, will be replaced by a technocrat government. Many oppose Abbas's continued role as president, arguing his 5-year term of office, which has already stretched out into 16 years, has seen its day. Former Deputy Prime Minister and Chairman of the Palestine Investment Fund, Mohammed Mustafa, may succeed Shtayyeh. Moscow will host a meeting this week to begin talks regarding the future of the Palestinians once the war ends, and in particular, the Israeli hostages. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds roll in this evening. Our low dips to 49. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of some early showers. We will stay mild with a high of 73. More rain possible with cloudy skies on Wednesday, while clearing and cooler on Thursday. High temperatures going back into the upper 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on this wonderful Monday for all of us here. I'm here at Harbortown, part of the group that came through and played the media tournament here, media and sponsors tournament. Chris Bergen was in Myrtle Beach at the Dunes Club to play for to play at their media event as well. And we're joined by Steve Wilmot, the longtime director of the RBC tournament here at Harbortown, and it's great to have you back with us once again. We get to see you, hopefully twice this year, because I'm hoping to work some things out where we can be here to do the show for the tournament this year.
Well, thank you as always. It is a pleasure once a year for people to hear me and not see me. Good for them anyway, but obviously we appreciate your continuing support, and it certainly turned out to be a great day today.
Oh, man, the weather was fantastic. The course was fantastic. We had a blast. And the way you guys ran things this time around and the different touches you put on it, I mean, I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much from me. A lot of things going on. You're getting ready for the tournament. Changes from last year to this year. And the tournament remains very healthy with two major sponsors that are firmly entrenched with you. Just bring us up to date on how things are with you here.
Well, it's things are healthy. I mean, that's a great way of putting it, but it's a true compliment to the efforts of not just the Heritage Classic Foundation and this community, but truly South Carolina, all our partners and volunteers. I mean, hard work pays off. If you think back, we've had conversations over the years, and back in 2011, I wasn't sure whether there was going to be a 12 or not, and here we are. For the second year in a row. Last year it was considered a designated event that was awarded to us because of hard work and being good partners with the PGA Tour. But then this year to be recognized as and awarded a signature event is really a compliment, and from my sake, a thank you to everybody out there. It's exciting. It's good to be us. It truly is, and us is everybody that's involved with this PGA Tour event.
I mentioned the course was in excellent shape. What's been done here over the last 12 months as you're getting ready for your event in April? Have they made any additional changes, anything that the fans will notice when they're here in person or watching on television?
No, not this year. There was a little work last year on a few areas, but the big plans for the Sea Pines Resort being the Riverstone Group and the Goodwins and the wonderful hosts that have us here is the Commitment 25. They're going to close the golf course down after the 25 event, and it's going to be a restoration, not a renovation. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to, just like anything, just like me and my needs, as you get older, you got to get tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
And the golf course is old. There hasn't been any work done in about 20 years. And so every railroad tied out there, and they are going to do some work from drainage to irrigation, but also shave the grasses and reshape some of the greens to their natural, what Pete Dye wanted it to be. And that's the one thing Sea Pines, in working with the PGA Tour and others too, is, don't mess with a masterpiece you have out there. You got something really good, and just how to make it better. But we, from a tournament side, just like anything, just like today when you talked about a different format, just because we did it away 5 years ago, let alone last year, doesn't mean it needs to be done this year. We changed up today's format. It was very well received, and we'll tweak it in a little bit. But the golf course too, we're certainly sensitive to our partners and our sponsors, and the great partners in the RBC and our presenting sponsor in Boeing. But the general spectators are extremely important to us. And you probably saw out there today, and maybe didn't realize it because we're in the middle of the build, but we have some new bleachers on 4, new bleachers on 5. We've gotten bleachers back on 17 that we haven't had in a few years for a couple different reasons, and but we're sensitive of that, and but we're also sensitive to the number of people. We're not trying to put more people out there. We just want to elevate the experience along with the tournament, and do the best we can to showcase this wonderful tournament in South Carolina, the world.
Yeah, you sell it out every year ticket wise. I mean, you're not increasing the number of tickets you're going to sell, but you're pretty much wanting to accommodate more people sitting around various aspects of the course.
Yeah, it's something I'm sure we talked about last year, let alone the last few years. But it goes back to 2019 when things were really on a roll. And Saturday of 2019, we couldn't have gotten another person out on the golf course. And guess what? It wasn't a good thing. And we, and others didn't care for that. And then unfortunately, COVID hit in 20, but we ended up playing without any spectators, and then the following year we had limited spectators, and that's a financial model with that number that we wouldn't survive. So we took 2019 that Saturday and worked to where we were with limited capacity in 20, and we've come with a number that's manageable. Last year we could have sold more tickets, but when you sell more tickets, that creates more parking problems and transportation shuttle problems, restroom, viewing, concessions. And we want that to be a good experience for everybody, and to be able to say, hey, I feel like I've got my money's worth, and something special. So we look at those things as well.
Visiting with Steve Wilmot from the RBC Heritage here at Harbortown, and you are in the unenviable position as a director, I guess, as every tournament director is, on deciding on who gets in with the sponsor exemptions. Explain what's going on with the number of players you'll have this year. It's a different number compared to what you had last year. And for those who aren't aware, this is a PGA designated elevated event. Maybe people don't know exactly what that means. So if you would explain those two.
Yeah, well, I mean, the confusing things was last year we were a designated event, and there's a couple of reasons why they changed it. Designated to us was great, but other tournaments, looked at it as, okay, you're designated and we're not, so what's that mean we are? So, again, I'm sensitive to that. I respect all the efforts and work that's done by all these tournaments out there, but in us being a signature event this year, which they've created, is there's only 8 of us on the PGA Tour. It's a step down from the majors. As in previous years that I talked about, we were somewhat in that position to a certain degree down from the majors. And as an invitational, we had limited field of 132 players. So we were limited compared to most events that are 156 or 170 even at a few places. But what happened with the last year is with the us being designated kind of late in the process, that they had to add some players. So we went to 150 last year. And, we're sitting in a locker room right now. It's a beautiful locker room, but you're not going to get 150. And so we had to bring in temporary lockers. With 18 more players, you've got 18 more courtesy cars and 18 more caddies and 18 more families. And so it created some things. But the signature events are limited capacity, and you're really not selling it, but how it is between 70 and 80 players. And with all the models, all the things that's been run, we're somewhere between 74 to 76 players. You have the top 50. Top 50 players are automatic, and then you have the top 10 that have basically played good enough outside of that 50 to be in, and then there's a little window of 5, and then we have 4 exemptions. So when you go from 150 last year down to about 76 players, it's going to be a different vibe and feel.
Yeah.
But you're going to be guaranteed there is no cut, a little different as well, but. That XYZ player that you're wanting to see on Thursday and Friday, you're going to see him Saturday and Sunday if they're not playing that well, but it will give them an opportunity and to see everybody in your field all 4 days. And that's sometimes it was tough. You want to see
the stars.
Stars.
Yeah.
You want to see them on the weekend. You buy a Saturday ticket and they're not here and all. But our feel for the field on Thursday and Friday will be different. When you had 150 players and you were going off the front and back side and in threesomes at 7 o'clock in the morning till 9, and then you re-tee again, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Well, we'll be going off the front side on the first tee. So you'll see the flow of spectators will be a little different. The flow of the days will be more like Saturday and Sundays than they have in the past. But it's all a good thing. It's a change. Change is tough sometimes, and change is inevitable. And there's a lot of changes that have been happening. It's a moment in time in golf, but we're excited about it, and we're full steam ahead.
Well, to be one of those few designated tournaments, signature tournaments outside of the majors, that has to be very special for you. How much did CBS play a role in that? Were they much of a player because they love coming here, and the ratings are normally pretty good for this event? It comes right after the Masters, so they roll right over here. Did that have much of a play in it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're biased to CBS. I look at them as the best in golf. But that 3-hour trip from Augusta helps us too. And the premier event in golf, if not all sports, is the Masters. And we've embraced that over the years of being the week after. But the players have. CBS wants to be here. The players want to be here. The media officials want to be here. And you saw the media representation we hear today was unbelievable. And but that has helped us. And there's no question that. That they're a big part of this. They're coming in this weekend on Sunday. They're doing a site survey with some things because the drones are used differently now, and they're looking for a few additional bigger cranes because of TrackMan. They want to be able to get over top and see from the pine trees, so they're bringing in some, so they're doing. We'll be out here with them all day on Sunday looking at some things. But it's really it's a compliment to so many people. And yes, RBC and Boeing and our partners are, but we've done some good things in respect to working with the tour, and whether it was when the CJ Cup happened or the Palmetto Championship or even assisting the PGA Championship, there was things that we did and as good neighbors, which we felt what's good for South Carolina is great for us and all too. And we're excited, we're certainly well aware of the whole crew with Myrtle Beach Classic. That's exciting. They were all down here as our guest recently. Well, before the holidays, they brought in 9 people, met with our entire team in Sea Pines, and talked through strategy and the state and connections and things. And it's good for everybody. So we're it's an exciting next few weeks, and a lot of work, but a lot of fun as well.
Well, with the golf industry the way it is in South Carolina, I mean, we should have multiple events in one form or another. What's your purse going to be for this year? Do you?
Well, it's the same as last year, which went from. It was raised $12 million last year, but it will be $20 million. And
that's pretty. Did you ever think you'd see a purse of $20 million for this event?
No, especially when I think back of my first tournament was 1987, and the purse was $660,000, I think. So it's not that I've raised the purse.
Yeah.
It's, we as a team have looked at things, but the state's gotten very involved too. They realize the importance, and the state helped us through that COVID period,
sure.
As we all know, and let alone to reach out to them and ask for support, whether it's DEA or some things with regards to, some of the things happening and keeping golf open and the tour working, or DHEC, I should say, helping us with some things through that period. And but I'm very fortunate. I don't look at this as Sea Pines or Harbor Town or Hilton Head's event. It's truly South Carolina's tournament, and the support we have from Columbia and around the state, let alone the partners, is tremendous. And it's 99.9% of the time is yes is the answer. What's the question, Steve?
Yeah.
And they know the importance. And the state's gotten very, very much involved, and they realize the importance, and that's why they were involved with the CJ Cup and Palmetto Championship, and now they're official marketing partners of the PGA Tour. And as a destination, and Discover South Carolina is a part of that, and that's unique, and I love that. And, it's special. So I'm very, very fortunate to be in this position.
Is it possible still for people to get tickets?
Yeah, there's still some available.
Okay.
I mean, there's limited in certain areas, and again, we're at a position where, we used to sell right up to it, and we told people, buy early, and that's something that's we have some, but I would call now, because we don't want to. Last year we could have sold more, but we don't want to. We're not looking at that. We want that experience to be for everybody. From obviously we want those players that maybe haven't been here like they were last year. I want to come back, but I also want that volunteer and that sponsor and that ticket purchaser too to go, hey, this was a good time. I want to support, and at the end of the day, it's giving back to charity. So we want it to be a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and again, your involvement with junior golf is outstanding. The junior heritage. We had a hole where we had 3 youngsters from Hilton Head Prep who are all high-level golfers. One's going to Maryland. One's going to the young lady who won. Going to Notre Dame, she won your event.
Won junior heritage.
So I mean, your organization's involvement and commitment to junior golf in South Carolina knows no end.
Right, and that's something that's certainly important to us. And again, we do this event in December too, the Congressional Cup, which is important to us. We want the state to know that we want the state benefits from this, and the South Carolina Junior Golf Association we are huge partners with. But we help them, they help us. We here locally, whether it's First Tee and all, we help those. We help every high school in this Beaufort and Jasper County as well. And today was just kind of connecting the dots. We had a few of those kids here. We also had a former champion and a USC grad, Wesley Bryan, down here having some fun too. And he's here, for the sake of wanting to give back. He would obviously love to play in April, but that's not why he was here. He's at a phase of sorting through something. He's got some incredible business things going on too, but he was here to help us. He's been a great friend. His family's been great friends to the tournament, and he was standing here having fun with our participants and the juniors, and it was great to have a Gamecock down here and a former champion and somebody that's certainly been dear and near to this community, having played in the junior heritage, he and his brother and the players amateur and his mom caddied, and we can kind of go on and on and on. And let alone the dad, George, played in the heritage as well.
Yeah,
so,
he did.
Yeah.
He did. Well, thank you for being with us as always. Thank you for inviting us and having us. us being all of us in the media. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you back here in April.
Absolutely.
Looking
I
forward to
hope so. But
Yeah.
please know I appreciate you as well and your support. It's we're in this together, and we couldn't do it. And I'm, you love what you do what you love. I certainly do, and I don't have to do this. I get to do it, and I get to do it with great people like yourself. And
Well,
we appreciate your support.
You've done a fantastic job, obviously, and not only here, but your impact around the state is felt with the things that you do. So thank you so much. It's great seeing you.
No, thank you as always.
Appreciate you being with us. Steve Wilmot, the executive director of the RBC Heritage here at Harbor Town. Always great to see him. And we get down here for the media day in February. And, again, the tournament coming back in April, the week after the Masters. Okay, we'll hit the break here on Sports Talk, and we'll be back with more. Take more of your phone calls. Got a little recruiting coming up for you. Jim Toman at 7:05. Talk some college baseball. Just a bit outside with Jim Toman coming up at 7:05. And we'll see what else we can throw on the table here before we sign off tonight. So we'll be back after this break here on Sports Talk.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait. Order today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in South Carolina. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, thanks again to Steve Wilmot from here at the RBC Heritage for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk. And it's always great, Chris, to hear that one of our premier events hosted here in South Carolina, beyond the Gamecocks and the Tigers and what they do, we got Darlington, and we can always count on the RBC Heritage for bringing a lot of acclaim to South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Great sporting events, great crowds, and, of course, the economic impact that's felt down here but no doubt transcends across the state in one way or another.
Always enjoyed listening to Steve talk about the Heritage and how important it is to the state of South Carolina. Heck, I can remember when the Heritage was sponsored by MCI.
Yeah.
Remember those days? I mean, that company, I don't think
tell you a
exists
funny story.
anymore.
When MCI was the sponsor, okay, That had to be back in the 80s, I guess. And MCI would set up telephones in the press tent and would let you make phone calls for free if you were in the media, So, like, my wife would come in to, like, pick me up or something while I'm doing the show.
Right.
I say, hey, go over to make some phone calls with somebody. And she'd call all her relatives or whatever. MC. Sorry, Steve, I never told you that story. So don't go back and look up those phone bills.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, it's come a long way since those days.
And he also brought up an interesting point about them not necessarily limiting tickets, but they don't want an overflow crowd at the Heritage because they want everybody to have the unique experience of being able to walk out there and be on Harbor Town the whole 9 yards and have a good time. I wonder how much, though, the PGA Tour is starting to maybe not enforce that, but at least ask the tournaments to maybe cut down on crowds a little bit because of the overflow mess that they've had at the Waste Management Tournament out in Phoenix the past couple of years, especially this year, where they had to stop serving alcohol in the whole 9 yards because there's so many people going to the golf tournament.
Yeah. And you bring up a point here I see in our notes in terms of a contrast. The Myrtle Beach Classic, their purse is going to be about $4 million now. But, I mean, that's going to be,
I thought
again.
was really good
for
them.
Yeah. But, again, that's going to be sort of like I don't know how they reference it, maybe as a regular tournament or a secondary tournament to what's going to be going on in that's going to be up against the Quail Hollow Championship, right?
Yeah, correct.
In Charlotte. That's where, and that's I believe that's a signature event, right?
It is. I believe that is correct.
So that will have all your major golfers, all your top PGA golfers there, and of course, and we talked with Steve about this last year. No reason to bring it back up again tonight. But this is an offshoot of what Live Golf created. This was PGA's response to Live Golf. Okay, we're gonna boost the purses and some select events. We're gonna cut the field. We're gonna do we're gonna eliminate the cut. Similar things to what the Live Tour is doing, right?
Exactly. And I
Kind
think
of
Live
forced their
Tour,
hand.
for all its warts, has probably helped the PGA Tour, at least its players,
Yeah.
especially on the money side.
All right, Jim Toman coming up after the break. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds roll in this evening. Our low dips to 49. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a 30% chance of some early showers. We will stay mild with a high of 73. More rain possible with cloudy skies on Wednesday, while clearing and cooler on Thursday. High temperatures going back into the upper 50s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Jim Hudson Chevrolet, we know a truck is more than just a truck. And Jim Hudson has the truck you need for any job, big or small. With Chevy fleet trucks, Chevy SUVs, Chevy pickups, and commercial vehicles. All backed by Jim Hudson Chevrolet's best price guarantee, where we'll beat any Chevy price or pay you $1,000. Only at Jim Hudson Chevrolet.
Must bring an authorized written buyer's order from a franchised competitor dealer. Must be identically equipped new model in stock. We will better the price or pay you $1,000.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting President Biden and former President Trump will make dueling trips to the U.S.-Mexico border in Texas on Thursday, following the failed border deal that was opposed by the Republican frontrunner. That's according to White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and people familiar with both men's plans. Biden will travel to Brownsville, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley, an area that often sees large numbers of illegal border crossings. Trump, meanwhile, heads to Eagle Pass, Texas, about 325 miles away from Brownsville, another hot spot. The Supreme Court has cast doubt with state laws that could affect how Facebook, TikTok, X, YouTube, and other social media platforms regulate content posted by their users. The cases are among several this term in which the justices could set standards for free speech in the digital age. More details at srnnews.com.
I've learned a lot in my years doing this, but I've never had my eyes opened wider than when I met the folks from Broker Solar and went to see their job sites. Everything I thought about solar power, well, I was wrong about. Now, I'm on board 100% as long as it's done right. Don't let the media, don't let the politicians guilt you about solar power. You want solar because it actually will save you money and give you some power literally and figuratively at the same time. It's amazing technology. What a great way to get rid of your monthly power bill. No more power outages. Instead of having to buy a generator, you just rely on solar batteries from Broker Solar. Listen, I'm sick of having politicians tell me about green this, green that, but solar technology has advanced so much. So if you want to learn more, why don't you call the folks over at Broker Solar? This isn't some national thing. They are local. They're located right in Lexington. In fact, I've known the owner's family for many, many years. They are great. Online, it's brokersolar.com or call them 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relaxing hydrotherapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for their quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive, and jackoliverpools.com.
You've been talking about it for years. This year, do it. I'm Eddie Springer of Treycal Builders, talking about remodeling your kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, or whole house. At Treycal, we know the hardest part of remodeling is just getting started. But with us, it's easy. We'll guide you through the process, then deliver first-class work quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Call 360-8211, 360-8211, or visit TRECALbuilders.com. Treycal Builders, quality from start to finish.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of my medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
All right. Baseball red hot in the state of South Carolina, as I mentioned. This weekend, it's the base brawl for it all. South Carolina and Clemson going to do battle twice in Columbia, first at Founders Park, then over at Segra Park in Columbia. Then on Sunday, they head up to Clemson. Couple of quick notes on both. For the upstate game tomorrow, Clemson will start Austin Gordon. I think that's good news for them against Jake Kubler. And for their game against Gardner-Webb tomorrow, South Carolina will start Eddie Copper, the freshman. As for the rankings for this week, involving South Carolina, Clemson, and Coastal, D1 has Clemson 10, USC 19, Coastal 22. Baseball America, it's 10, 12, 22, Clemson, USC, Coastal. Perfect Game has USC 13, Clemson 16, Coastal 23, and the coaches rank Clemson 11, USC 16, and Coastal 20. Without further ado, let's welcome into Sports Talk another edition of Just a Bit Outside, Coach Jim Toman, no doubt with his notes ready to rock and roll tonight. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Phil, I'm doing great. I'm up here in Lake Waccamaw writing some notes down for your show, and I'm happy to be on tonight. Another great week of college baseball and a big week coming up. As we know, that's what it's all about in South Carolina, Clemson, South Carolina. Best rivalry in college baseball. Write that down.
Let me ask you something before you get into your notes. Having been somebody who was involved in that rivalry for many, many years, what's the week like, even when you have a game to play before you can actually focus on the other guy? Is there a little
That's
more
a good
zip
point.
in everybody's step? Is there a little more zip?
Everyone's absolutely fired up, especially the in-state kids that have a little bit better understanding of the rivalry. But even the out-of-state kids, when they're probably their first day on campus, they learn really quick that Clemson, even though they're a bunch of great guys over there, they're the enemy, and they are the ones that we have to beat. And that's a big focus of South Carolina baseball is you got to beat Clemson. You got to do it. But the two games that you got to play this week, USC Upstate can really hit, and Gardner Webb's one of them sneaky good teams. And they're kind of like trick games because, they're all fired up to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against their biggest rival. And it's fun. There'll be packed houses, and they gotta take their time here on Tuesday. I mean, that's, you can't, in college baseball, you can't overlook anyone. So we'll have plenty of time to get fired up for Friday, but we got to take care of business on Tuesday, and both games will be tough. Midweek games are difficult.
Yeah. Before you get to your notes, one thing that Chris pointed out earlier in the show when talking about the two teams, they've both been a little leaky defensively thus far. Are you surprised at that? Is that anything to be concerned about for either team or both teams?
No, I mean, it's baseball. Early on, I think Clemson had some errors early on, but they'll get it straight out. I mean, Clemson, they got Jack Leggett and Nick Schnabel over there. They're two of the best infielder coaches in the country, and so if they're making too many errors with their infielders, then they'll put a stop to that because they got two really good coaches over there. And I didn't look at exactly who's making all the errors, and maybe they have a few too many, but I don't think it's anything glaring yet. It's a little bit too early. It's early in the year, so sometimes they have the jitters early on, make a few errors, but I think they'll both settle in. I think they got plenty of good infielders, so hopefully that's not a factor down the stretch.
All right, what you got for your notes?
Well, I thought I'd talk about South Carolina's week 4-1. 4-1 is a great week, no matter who you are. Yeah, we didn't want to lose that one game to Belmont, but you're not going to go undefeated. The last time I checked, anytime I was coaching my team and we lost early in the year, I said, well, we're not going to go undefeated, guys. So Gamecocks aren't either, but we're 7-1, and Belmont snuck that one in there. Now Belmont's a pretty darn good team, and I do want to say that they were without their head coach this week. Dave Jarvis is a friend of mine, being from Belmont. That's right there in Nashville. Mm-hmm. He was 30 minutes from me when I was coaching at Middle, and he had a little stomach surgery, and prayers up to him. He's a great guy. Won an awful lot of games at Belmont. He couldn't make the series, but I did text with him, and he said that he's doing better, and he says he hopes to be back soon. So prayers to Dave Jarvis at Belmont. But I thought the key so far for the 7-1 start with South Carolina is Dylan Brewer is hot, and he's got a lot of experience at Clemson, a lot of experience at South Carolina, a lot of at-bats, and it always wasn't great for him. But right now, the guy is hitting down in the lineup early in the year, and he's hitting .560. He's leading the Gamecocks in hitting. And the key, I think, he has 31 plate appearances and no strikeouts. And, he's going to swing and miss guy a little bit in his time, but I think Coach Lee has the right approach with him, and Dylan's doing something right, because you go 31 times to the plate and hasn't struck out yet, and that's why he's hitting .560. And then on the mound, Eli Jones seems to be really good. He has no walks in his 2 outings with a 1 ERA, and we'll take that any day. I think he has 8 punch-outs. Offensively, the hitters are only hitting .297 for South Carolina, but I thought what was impressive, and I think Monty Lee preaches this, is the walk-to-K ratio. They have 76 walks 17 hit by pitches, and only 59 Ks. So they're looking at 93 to 59, which is an excellent ratio there. And the team ERA, they're hanging in there. They got a lot of different arms, and they're still trying to figure out who to use. But their ERA, I think, as a team is like 2.60 or 2.59, something like that. And the offense, they've scored 77 runs in 8 games, so that's an average of 9.6. We'll sign for that for the whole year. And they've only given up 23. I noticed also this past weekend, I thought Petrie and Messina started getting hot, and that's the 2 All-Americans. And at one point, they were hitting 200 each, but now their average is up a little bit. They hit a couple home runs. Them 2 get hot, and you watch out because they can carry a club for months on end. So I'm looking for Petrie and Messina to hammer some balls this week and this weekend, and we need them 2 guys to really swing it, especially against Clemson. But like I said, 4 o'clock Tuesday, Gardner-Webb, can't overlook that game, and then better get your tickets now for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because they'll be sellouts, I'm sure. Okay, now Clemson 3-1 on the week. They beat PC, and they got 2 out of 3 against Kennesaw State. Now, I will say this. They lost bad on Friday, but sometimes that happens on a Friday. You get behind early, and you don't want to throw your top pitchers because you still got 2 games left. And it got out of control 18-1. But they came back and won, I think it was 8-6, 7-2. So they rebounded from that. But Kennesaw State is a really good team. Okay, so that's not that bad of a loss. So they play tomorrow, USC Upstate, and they're scoring a bunch of runs. Mike McGuire's done a great job over there. So, Clemson's got to be ready to go, okay? And I'm looking at Clemson, and, you got to talk about Cam Canarella. He's only a sophomore now, but so much for the sophomore slump. The guy's hitting .517, has a 16-game hit streak. And if you look at him, he's not that big, strong, physical guy. But, boy, he handles the bat well, and he has power to right, has power to left, plays center field. Their offense is doing fine, 8.1 runs a game. They're hitting .329. And, the pitchers are doing okay at Clemson as well. But I would say that out of them 2 teams, and I'll give you my prediction on the series here in a little bit. I want to talk about Coastal. Coastal had a great week. They were, I think, 4-0 this week. They beat Wilmington, they beat Illinois, they beat Ball State, they beat Cincinnati, and that's really 4 teams that have been in regionals that are pretty darn good teams, and they won all 4 of them. They're only 5-2 now. On Sunday, I think it was Cincinnati scored 2 runs in the first inning, but Coach Gilmore's crew, I don't think they were a little. They ended up scoring 12 in the first, 6 in the second, and 5 in the third. And by the third inning, it was 23-2. So I would not want to go play in a regional over at Coastal because they just hammer balls, and the wind blows out, and they got great hitters, and they got a dogfight on Tuesday. They play Campbell, who's in the top 25. Was in the South Carolina Regional last year. But Coastal's already scored, get this, Phil, they've already scored 92 runs in 7 games, so they're averaging 13 a game. Not too shabby. And like you're talking about defensively, that South Carolina and Clemson had a few too many errors. Clemson only has 5 this year. Now their team ERA is 3.98. And they play a really good squad, a place where I used to coach, and Scott Jackson is up there at Liberty. They have a 3-game set in Coastal this weekend, and Liberty's a quality team. So Coastal's going to have a good RPI because they're playing a really good schedule. I'm talking about the other guys in state that we don't get to talk about as much. I think Coach Holbrook's doing a great job at College of Charleston. Last week went 3-0. So they're undefeated, 7-0. They've got a kid named Kevin Madden hitting .519. And Will Dorton is the pitching coach over there, one of my good friends. He's a stud over there. Their ERA is 1.86.
Woo!
And they had a kid named Connor Campbell that went 7 2/3 perfect game And I'm thinking Will probably caught a fastball down the middle. That's probably the best pitch in baseball, a strike. But he gave up one hit, Connor Campbell. He's a little lefty, I believe. So they're doing well. Wofford went 3-1, and their only loss, here's the Kennesaw State beat them. But same thing, they ended up beating Clemson one game. So Kennesaw State it's not a bad loss at all. So Wofford is 6-1. PC didn't have a great week. It went 1-3, but they're still 5-3 overall, and they got a great opportunity on Tuesday to go down to Georgia and upset the Bulldogs. You never know. They've done that before. Seems like PC in the middle of the week. They're giant killers. So I'm looking for someone to go down. I hate it for Clemson and South Carolina and Georgia, but one of them three is going down this week. I don't know. I'm not a gambling man, but I don't. There's been a lot of upsets, and I think there's going to be quite a few more. So USC Upstate went 4-0 last week, and they can really hit. So Clemson has their hands full. They're only 4-3, but they won their last four. I think they lost their first three to Kentucky. Charleston Southern had a good week, 2-2 for them. They're 4-3, and them and the Citadel are obviously big rivals, and they play at the Citadel on Tuesday. If anyone is interested that can't make it out to the Gamecocks Clemson game. And then the other team, the 9th D1 team in the state, Winthrop, they had a couple wins this past week. They were 2-3, and they're 2-6 overall. So I'm sure Coach Reginas will get it going there. Upsets this past week. I don't know if you guys talked about this, but it's kind of crazy that LSU lost at home to Stony Brook.
Huh.
Does anyone know who the Stony Brook mascot is?
They are the Seawolves,
aren't they? Yeah.
The Seawolves, good.
Yeah.
And
do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who you're talking to?
I got a few more here, so I don't want to put you on the spot. But now that you're 1-0, I'm going to give you another one. Yeah, you remember in 2012, Stony Brook was in the World Series. I think that was the last time South Carolina was there. But Miami also lost to LIU. Do you know who LIU is?
That's Long Island University.
Great. And who are they?
They are the Blackbirds.
No.
The something birds.
Well, maybe they are. I looked it up, I'll be honest with you. And it said Sharks. So I don't know if they're Sharks.
I thought they were the Blackbirds. But go ahead.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe you got me on that one, but I'm going with Sharks.
Okay.
Unless I was looking up the wrong team. But anyway, they beat Miami at Miami. And obviously Clemson lost to Kennesaw State. I don't even think that's that big of an upset because Kennesaw State is going to be in the regionals.
All right, here's a story. Here's a story from 2019 in the New York Post, since you brought it up. The Long Island University has a new nickname. The school on the verge of merging its Brooklyn and Post athletic programs has renamed its team to the Sharks. They were the Blackbirds. They were the Blackbirds, but now they are the Sharks. So basically, we're both right. But go ahead.
You know what? I think the Sharks in that West Side Story, they had the Jets and the Sharks. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not that big of a movie buff, but I did watch that one growing up. But anyway, so Kennesaw State, who are the Owls, they beat Clemson as an upset. And then Arkansas State is playing well. They beat Ole Miss. I looked up who they are, too. If we have enough time, you can guess, or I'll just tell you who they are. Arkansas State.
They are the Red Wolves.
The Red Wolves.
Okay, in 2008, who were they? There's some trivia stuff here, guys.
They were. Go ahead. That's your league, Chris.
I didn't realize they had another mascot outside of the Red Wolves. I was going to stick with the Red Wolves.
2008, they were called the Indians. So in 2008,
okay,
someone said they couldn't be called Indians, so now they're the Red Wolves. But anyway,
that's funny because Newberry was the Indians. Newberry was the Indians, right?
Yeah.
And now they're the Wolves. So apparently it's pretty popular to go from Indians to Wolves.
Might be the same president or something. Who knows? Okay, Austin P. We got a shout out to old Austin P. And you know who they are, right? It starts
Correct.
with the G.
The Governors,
right?
Yep.
The Governors. They won 2 midweek games at Mississippi State, who won a national title 3 years ago, and they probably have one of the best stadiums in the country. But Austin Peay, or P, I guess it is.
P.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You know what their favorite cheer is, don't you?
Oh, please. I don't know if we could say that on the radio.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's da-da-da-da-da-da, let's go P. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, let's go P. I mean, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
We got about a
Well,
minute left. I'm
going quick. Hagen Smith, shout out. Arkansas, 17 Ks, 6 innings last week, up to 97, a lefty. Then they had a Sunday guy that threw no-hitter for 5 innings. So watch out for Arkansas's pitching, okay? 2 lefties that are really good. So Arkansas is probably an Omaha team. Okay. One other thing I saw, this bothered me, but, it's just my opinion, but I'll bring it up if I can. Cal Berkeley is playing at Louisiana, and they had 6 or 7 players decided they didn't want to stand for the national anthem. I'm obviously against that. I don't know why they were doing that. I don't know what they were. It was a peaceful protest. I don't know what they were protesting, but just to get Storm Thurmond on the record, my teams are going to stand for the national anthem, and I'm pro-military, pro-USA, I'm pro-flag. So I don't like to see that in that type of venue, but I guess, the law says you can peacefully protest, but that ain't going to happen. If I'm coaching, I'm going to have my people stand. It's just my opinion there. Throw it out at you. Some people won't agree, but I didn't like that. But,
What's your pick on the South Carolina Clemson series? We got to wrap.
There you go. Okay. I'm going I got to go with the Gamecocks. I was there for 11 years. They're my team. I love the coaching staff over at Clemson, and they got a good team, but we got to go Cox 2-1.
Coach, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much.
All right, Coach.
As always, Jim Toman, as you can tell, he's just a bit outside, and we appreciate him being with us tonight. Let's go to recruiting here before we run out of time. Recruiting is brought to you by Seawells. Make sure you get over to Seawells this week for the daily luncheon buffet from 11 till 2 for only $14, the best buffet in the buffeting business. And, of course, for the best in the catering business, that, too, will be Seawells for you. Let them handle all the hard work that goes into planning and preparing and delivering and cleaning up your big event. They are more than happy to take care of all of that for you. That's Seawells, and just give them a phone call and let them handle it all. And, of course, their phone number is 803-771-7385.
And Phil, quickly, Seawell's closed tomorrow, just to let everybody know, for a private event. They'll be back open on Wednesday for the daily luncheon buffet.
Thank you for that. Just a few notes from over the weekend. Findlay, Ohio quarterback Ryan Montgomery is going to return to Florida and South Carolina in April. He continues to talk to Alabama and Georgia as well. You might recall that last time we talked to his father, he said that after basketball season, but they're still in basketball season, but after basketball season, it was possible they would return for visits to their top schools and make one more run through things before making a decision, so that apparently is going to be the case here. Tom Loy of 24/7 Sports reported linebacker Tavion Wallace of Jessup, Georgia, will take an unofficial visit to USC March 23rd. He also plans unofficials to LSU and Florida State, and he has set officials with Georgia June 7th and USC June 21st. Steve Wiltfong of 247 Sports reported that wide receiver Winston Watkins Jr. out of Naples, Florida, has set up several spring visits. Florida on the 7th, Clemson on the 11th, Pitt on the 21st, Syracuse on the 27th, Indiana April 2nd, Ohio State April 9th, and Florida State April 16th. He is related to Sammy Watkins, either a nephew or a cousin, but they are related. USC offered 2026 linebacker Chad Fairchild, 6'1", 215, of Lovejoy, Georgia. Wide receiver Burnell Brown of Orlando has Clemson among his top 11. The others are Syracuse, Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, Miami, Stanford, Louisville, Tennessee, Alabama, UCF. Safety DeMarcus Leach of Abbeville was offered by Georgia Tech. And 2026 receiver Jordan Gidron of Ridgeview was offered by North Carolina and by Tennessee. There you go with the recruiting notes for you tonight right here on Sports Talk. All right, some folks have been waiting. Appreciate the patience. And we go to where we go next.
You want to go Dave?
Let's go Dave. I was just Chris sent me a note. I think he was referring, Chris, to Coastal committing 5 errors, not Clemson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had the same
that
thought
makes
at
sense.
first. Yeah. I had the same thought at first, but I think he was in the midst of talking about Coastal and said their fielding's been fine. They've only committed 5 errors. So I think
their
that's what
hitting's
he's
been
talking
really
about.
good too. Yeah, but okay, that makes more sense because I was thinking Clemson. Coach must be looking at different stats that I have, and I'm sure that's what Coach Mackich would like to see out of his team thus far. Just 5 errors, but they have committed 14.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Dave in Charleston. Dave, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Okay, Bill, I enjoy the show. Look here, I heard you talking to Hank about the girls shooting. The 3-point shot's not going to be, when he loses, it won't be on kind of 3-point shots. They can't shoot layups.
Yeah.
Around that circle. They can't shoot around that circle.
Well, I think that their bigs make layups. I mean, I've watched Cardoza make a bunch of different layups from different angles, and I've watched a variety of their bigs can make their layups. I mean, guards sometimes in the women's game, sometimes have a hard time getting near the rim and getting layups to go because they're banging it off the backboards. But Chloe Kitts is another one I've seen make a variety of shots around the basket. So, again, I'm not saying, and we got to run, we'll pick this up tomorrow night, Chris. I'm not saying they're a terrible 3-point shooting team, but I know they've had their games where the outside shot has not dropped. But I do know they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country.
Oh, no doubt. And they're considerably better than they were last year. And I had a basketball coach who coached women for a long, long time. He said the 2 major factors in the women's game, layups and free throws. You make both of those, you're in good shape. And you're right. There are occasions where you get frustrated that the ladies can't finish around the rim. But with the bigs that Carolina has inside, that's usually not the case.
Dave made a great point. Thank you, Dave, for bringing that up. We appreciate it. That will do it. Did you break 100 today?
No, I told you I had to play with a guy with 4 handicap.
Oh, okay.
Under
you
par.
did. Wish I had. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.